Hello everyone, I80386SX and yet another LTE Lite video. What exactly about the LTE Lite? Well, something that all modern computers need in order to function properly. Storage. That's the piece we're going to talk about here today. And this, I literally pulled out the first LTE Lite I had that was convenient, and this is actually the perfect machine because of a little tale I'm going to tell later. This is my LTE Lite 425C from the United Kingdom. Now, you could go ask about storage, and if you're an LTE enthusiast, the Elites and the 5000, your options, as long as you stay generally under 8 gigs, or with the 5000 under 6 gigs, you'll have a working drive. There ain't going to be a problem. There's a little bit of fine print with the 5000 series. I know somebody did get it working with an 8 gig CF card with some overlay software, I believe. I wish I could find the video. I think the original author deleted it. Maybe didn't. Maybe there was some side effects that just we found later on. I don't know. I even tried to put this drive into a 5000 and it started okay, but much like all drives that are larger, it just didn't want to work. It would start the boot from the floppy as you would do that second part after F-disk, and it just hang. So, but anywho, this is, get back on track here with the LTE Lite series. There is no such luxury with these machines. They are very picky about what type of hard drives they will take. So, there's a very simple question that many people ask that restore these. Well, hold on, I got the solution. These drives are getting harder to find. Why don't I just get one of these guys, compact flash to the ID adapter, and set it accordingly, and boom, we got flash storage. Hold on, I got a report on that. Let me get the report for that. Just gotta research that one real quick. There was a publication that came out with very large letters on what to do or how to get your LTE Lite to read one of these compact flash cards. Just bear with me here. It's gonna take, the computer's being a little slow today, so. And the person between the chair and keyboard isn't exactly going great with him. But, okay, so we found that report. Let's print it off and let's see what the results are of, or what the recommended steps are to get this combination to work with this machine. I did get this printer for free, so she ain't perfect. You can't argue with free and working. That's a fun little story for another day. Alright, so here's the report. This is your instructions on how to get a compact flash to ID adapter in an LTE Lite. Don't. Yeah, just don't do it. It won't work. For number one, if you're lucky, it just won't work. But more times than not, when people that try to put these in these machines, they blow the hard disk controller, and especially with a machine with the floppies, almost none of the floppies work anymore because of the bad belt situation, you got yourself a hefty little paperweight on your hands. And that's where this LTE Lite comes into play. The person that had it before me did do just that. He did try to put in a compact flash, the IDE adapter, and blew out the hard disk controller on this motherboard. But knowing little to know it at the time, I didn't know enough about it. I didn't know about the motherboard thing at the time, so, well, a little bit of an expensive lesson, but it is what it is. But we got a new motherboard in this thing. We got a working hard drive that's on the approved list, and away we go. So, that leads us to the question. What drives work with this machine? We'll go to the approved ones first. Let me get camera down here. I have a whole pile of them here. And some of these are opened, some of these are dead, but the model numbers are the more important component of this. This one, the Connor CP2121, the CP2080. The most common ones you'll see are these ST9144A. And in later machines, there was another model that was used to substitute that will work just fine. And then this is the fourth option you can get, is the Seagate ST9235AG. So look at these drives in all their glory, and those are the drives that you are targeting if you're trying to restore an LTE Lite. Now, like I said, there are others that will work just fine. And for whatever reason, I did not bring them out, but I will do that right now with the magic of video editing. Okie doke, so we found more drives. We'll get these out of the way. If you get some of these Connors with stuck heads on them, I don't think I brought them up close, but here's one. This Compaq part number may aid you in some way, shape, or form. But there are some drives here that may or may not work. This ST9145AG, this one is dead, but I keep it around for demonstrations like this. I think this is actually what came with this laptop. But this is a plug-and-play drive as well. I think it's type 51. Whatever the ST9144A is, that's what you want to use. Now we'll go into our untested portion of our tour, meaning it'll probably work just fine, or it has worked, but you may have to do some manual work to get them to work. Sure. This is an untested variation. This is the ST9235A, which we will test later in this video. I got this from a person or an eBayer named Our Drives Work. And there was a little bit of difficulty getting these because, for whatever reason, I was not allowed to bid on it or buy things from this seller. I don't know what happened, but it was a mistake, but we exchanged some communications, and here we are. We got 3 of those bad boys, and I'm looking forward to testing them. And if you are from Our Drives Work, and you want to prove that I did do business with you in the past, here's an ST9144A I've got to open. It's a spare. I got it from the same seller a couple years ago, and it looks nice. So, anywho, so we'll test that guy later. This drive, I do have one of these in another LTE Lite of mine. That was an experiment I did to install Windows NT4 to see if these LTE Lites could handle it. And I selected the appropriate drive in the BIOS. I don't remember the number off the top of my head or what drive, but you just have to scroll through it and match these variables up as close as you can. I think there's a 1023 1663 option for that one. Actually, you know what, since we have time, well, we'll get to that shortly. This drive here, I had a thinner version of this drive. I bought another LTE Lite from the UK. It came from the British Standards Institution. It said it was the 12mm or the 17 or the 15mm version of this 400 some megabyte drive. But if you go through the BIOS options, you will notice that there are no 400 megabyte drives. All they did, I ended up finding out that they must have had an 80 megabyte drive that died, and they just threw this in there, or threw its cousin in there, and called it an 80 meg drive and called it a day, and used it till the end of its useful life. So, you know what? If it works, it works. So, that's what I know for sure of drives that do work, or may work with some light configuration. So let us go to the computer. And I will eventually bring out another LTE machine for this exercise, because I don't feel like tearing this guy apart. Alright, so we're now to the C prompt. We gotta do the old Control Alt Delete. Yep. Not that it matters if you have the trackball in the picture or not. We're not gonna use that for this portion. So now, to keep in mind to follow things along, we're going to try and find the variables to put this drive, the ST945A6AG or something with these specs, into this machine successfully. So we go to F4 to configure. It is not plug and play. Now, this is an interesting part because you have a 650 megabyte drive. I don't even think this system can handle anything above 500 megs, so I don't know why that's in there, but it's my ProLinear 425S, I believe, also has that same value, but I can't get it to go detect anything about 512. So let's keep going. Oh, that's it. Type 42. So to review, if you want this drive to work in this machine, or at least have a chance of it, type 42. That's the one you want. So, cool. So, that is the portion of that tour. And now, last but not least, we're going to see if the plain Jane vanilla ST9235A is compatible with this machine and at what capacity. I'll have to do a little bit of video editing on this, as I got to go find that half machine that I use for these tests, and we'll find out if Mr. eBayer's R drives works. We'll find out if those drives really work. So stay tuned. I'll be back right now. Alright, so that took way longer than it should have. There is a limitation if you worked on these machines, or really early 90s Compaqs and probably others, that especially if you're missing a screen like this machine we're going to use is, you need one of these VGA cables, or you have to pull out the pin yourself if you're lucky enough to do that. And it took me a while to hunt this guy down, so it took longer, but this is why we have video editing, so you don't have to watch me do all that extra curricular activity. Now, the drive is going to come out of its package now, and our drive works. If you do see this, I will say that the anti-static packaging is a very nice touch. The sticker is very nice touch. We'll get this on here. It does seem like that they are very thorough with their drives, but we're going to really find that out shortly if that's the case. I'm almost certain that is the case because I ordered from them before, and there's computers around here with those drives in them actively right now, and I haven't had a single one die. So, and also, we are all, however, off to a bad foot. And that's because I put the stupid IDA cable / speaker cable on backwards. There we go. Now we're cooking with fire. So to show and demonstrate, if your ribbon cable does not go like this, you got the drive in wrong. The PCB side should be facing up by the time you are said and done. Let's get that in there. Alright, so we're in. Power was disconnected, so your screw up i80386SX actually did something right. There we go. Let's power it on and let's see if this thing is plug and play. Uh-oh. Oh no. What we got going on here? We're almost unplugged completely. Maybe that's it. Well, this is maybe a disconnected keyboard? Well, we're going to see some quick on-the-fly troubleshooting today. Keyboard looks like it may have been slightly disconnected, and if that's the case, we ain't going to get far. Maybe a bad keyboard. I know I have one of those floor... Oh, there we go. Just disconnected. Yeah, I do think that this keyboard may be dead, or partially dead. Can't be easy, can it? I did have one floating around that was half dead, and I think I just found it. Let's try this one. May have to tear apart one of these little buggers to see what happens. Yeah, I did forget to unplug it during that whole exchange, but oops. There we go. This one, the enter key is a little bit skanky on this one, for lack of a better term. So we're going to reset the drive to zeros. I'm not sure if this was in from the last drive or not, so we're going to do that. We'll do primary. And we'll see. Yep, okay, so that did exactly what I wanted to do. So let's go exit save changes. Yeah, this one's got a bum enter key on it, but I think that might be fixable. We'll just use half dead as a sacrificial lamb here. There we go. And survey says the ST9235A is indeed plug and play, at least on the 433C, that is. So there you go, there you have it. Unfortunately, I don't think this disk drive actually works, so I'm not going to be able to put an operating system on this as it stands right now and do any further testing and that fun stuff. But, you know, maybe if we get bored here at some point, maybe I'll pull out a docking station and we'll image this sucker and we'll see what it can do. But, well, it's a hard drive. We know it's plug and play. We know it's getting this far. And the gentleman or lady behind Our Drives Work seems to be telling the truth so far. So, their drives work. But that's pretty much it. That's all I have for you today. General rule, it's a thumb with these machines. If you can find the 4 or 5 or so approved ones, that's what you want to do. That's what I strongly recommend. That way you're not going to be running into trouble down the road. Little note with the ST9235AG. You may have a black one with a label kind of like this. As long as you got the model number, the ST9235A or AG. Yeah, here's some more. The A drive that we just tested is a more accurate representation of what most of those AG drives will look like. So, as long as you got that model number, you should be golden. And can you build these systems off of a non-compact machine? I've had absolutely no success with that to this point. Can you put these drives, these compact approved drives, in other systems and work off of them once something is established? Absolutely. I have pulled some cool stuff off drives I've had over the years. I nuked one that had a bunch of really awful content on it and was able to work with those drives in any machine within the correct IDE port, so yeah. And if you try something that's not strictly approved or tested, if you will, by Compaq, proceed at your own risk. I think the British Standards Institution, they did okay. And like I said, anything here that on that is provided as is, no guarantees, and not responsible if anything were to break in your machine. So, that's all I have. If you have any questions, comments, or constructive commentary, you may feel free to leave them in the comment section. And as always, thank you for watching. Alright, well, I lied. There is going to be a small bonus round on this. There's a drive I forgot to mention, or a couple of drives I forgot to mention, are some 80 meg drives that may work just fine, and likely will work just fine. Again, use these at your own risk. I don't see any specs on these two, but one of the issues with Connor drives is they have a stick 'em problem. Now, there is technically a fix for it, there's a way around it, but not everybody wants to open up a drive and put masking tape on some random small piece. So there is this drive here. It's an eBay listing. It's an ST9096A. There's my little reflection here. Trying to get around it. There we go. So that's the ST9096A. It's from the same seller that I got the drive that we just tested. That is one potential option. And there's this guy, which is blurry, but also from the same seller. Another 80 meg drive, an ST9100A. Our drives work, which we have found in early returns indicate that their drives do indeed work. So if anybody has those, I'd love to see if they actually do work with the LTE Lite. So that's my little bonus round. For real, this will be the conclusion of this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, constructive commentary, or you actually did test one of the two drives I talked about 30 seconds ago, love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching.